Hello, people.
One sec.
You,
One sir.
you can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So, welcome to another DDM. We have an exciting review class packed today, planned today. Probably won't be very long, but today what we're going to do is we're going to go through some of the recommendations. I've been scanning through them and I see some good recommendation. Hold on a second. Sorry. Yeah, I see some good recommendations and some a bit pricey. But we're just gonna go through just a few of them for today's class, and we're also going to take a little look at what we'll be doing for our practical class, right? So this week we're supposed to start on Photoshop. So how is everybody in terms of preparing for that? Have you guys got the software ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, I hear some answers on the half of the class. All right, is there anybody?
Not yet, sir.
I was just about to say if there's anybody that doesn't have that ready. Remember, I gave you some numbers to call. Well, it's really one number, and the other person is at CSA. So you can check the lab tech, or you can call Mr. Campbell. I believe Mr. Campbell usually sends you a link, so you don't have to like physically go somewhere. Flemings, I see you have a question.
Well, it's not really a question. It's just my situation. My situation is a little sticky because I was actually supposed to buy a computer over the weekend, but I'm having some financial issues, so I wouldn't have it for this coming week. But hopefully next week I'd have it with me.
All right, cool. Well, maybe that's a good thing because today we're kind of discussing, the recommended computer based on the lecture that we did last week. So.
Okay. Well, I already know what I already know that I'm going to be a dedicated graphics card. It's going to be solid state. Everything else is kind of I think maybe a terabyte for the memory. Everything else is kind of float up because it's really just no things I'm concerned about that.
All right. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have here. All right. I have, by the way, even if you did not get a recommendation for the laptop that you selected, don't worry, because you still will count as participating in the activity. All right, regardless. All right, so it's kind of like an on-off thing. Did you participate or not? Not how well did you recommend the computer. All right, so let's see what we have here. Now, don't pay attention to the small text because you don't really need to read it. And I'm not going to go through, we may not get through all of them during this class, right? But we're going to go through a few and we're just going to have like a little discussion on them, and then you guys can also ask some questions. And I get to ask you some questions, all right? So let's go with, we're not going to necessarily go in order, right? I'm going to choose someone's here by random a little, right? All right, so this choice is from Javon. right?
Sir?
Right. And I
Sir?
see you. Yeah.
The quality of the text is kind of like blurry.
Yeah. Um. Oh, I wonder if it's. Is it? Is it blurry
It's
for any?
better now.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, so also for the duration of the class, we're going to be using for Zoom, we're going to be using the profile pictures. I'm not requiring that everybody have their webcam because it's going to pull your bandwidth and cause your text to not look so great. But what I will request is that everyone put on their profile pictures so that we can kind of recognize each other, not only by name but by image. All right. So when you get a chance. All right. Anyway, so this one is like right on the edge of the budget, not too bad. I realized that for this one we have a Ryzen. Hold on a second. We have a Ryzen 5. Anybody remember what we said about the Ryzen type? We have Ryzen 3579, right? And what was the minimum that we said? Not to go below.
So the minimum was 5.
All right, good to go. So that is correct. Then who remembers the minimum for the I'm sorry. There's a was. Who remember the minimum for the video card?
So 1050.
Kinda.
1080.
It's not the full digit. What really matters is the strength. All right. So nothing lower than 5 again. 5 seems to be the magic number. All right. And then what about the processor speed? So we see here that they don't tell you the processor speed. They do. It's just further down. Let's see here. And I'll zoom in a little bigger. And there we go. 3.3 gigahertz, right? And 6 cores. So who can tell me if this has 6 cores, how many threads does it have?
Sir, was it 12?
Exactly. So those guys that are painting the wall from our last presentation, it would be 12 of those guys, right? So that's pretty good. And what about the storage? It has 512 gigabytes of PCIe SSD, right? Is that the one with the turtle, the rabbit, or the rabbit
and the jetpack?
and the jetpack? Exactly. So this is actually a pretty good deal, you know. I wish I had it loaded, then I would just buy this and give it to Javon, you know, but unfortunately I'm not.
You can.
All right, cool. So this one is a good buy. So I'm gonna put that marker there. Oops, there we go. Right. All right, let's take another one. We're just going to take a couple of them. Let's look at one from Best Buy. Or will this link come up? Let's see. $7.99. Ooh, this is a very attractive price. Galaxy Book 2. Okay, so we have i7. Who remembers the smallest i that we should go up to? Let me see. We had
I have again.
i5.
Exactly. Easy to remember, right? We have a 512 SSD. Is this the one with the turtle, the rabbit, or the rabbit with the jetpack?
Rabbit.
All right. You seem to be dominating all the questions, so maybe I should start throwing out individual questions to make sure everybody is getting it, right? All right, let's see what else this has, right? Look on the specifications. There we go. Let me kind of zoom in so we can see text a little clearer. All right. So this is our speed, which is 4.7 gigahertz. That's not bad. All right. What about, come on down, yeah. What about our video card, right?
Sir, I'm not seeing a dedicated graphics card.
Aha. What kind of graphics card is this?
Integrated.
But how would we know that it's integrated? I mean, already when you're not getting those fancy names that we saw last week.
Yeah. Sir, once it's integrated, it would have the manufacturer. So the Intel graphics card is the standard integrated.
Good point. All
and
right.
usually there would be two. You would have the integrated and the dedicated.
Good point. Good point, guys. Wow, I feel like you guys are learning, or maybe you knew some of this already. All right. If we look on graphics here, okay, they only define it. They don't really tell you. All right. So the problem with this then, therefore, is that it doesn't have a dedicated graphics card. You know, it does cost $800, which is $200 less, right? Or I should say 800 and something, right? So let me ask, who should I ask? Diana, or is it Dana? Sorry. Dania. Did I pronounce that right?
Dania, sir.
Dania. Oh wow. Okay. You know, I give you $800. Would you bite the bullet and get this laptop, or would you say, "Boy, let me try and find $200 more"?
I would find $200 more and get a better one.
More easier said than done, right?
True.
Well, let me throw the question out. What are some of the advantages of this laptop?
Sir, it looks very thin and light. The screen is actually very good quality too because it's AMOLED.
All right, cool. And does anybody know the difference? Let me bring up the previous one here. What kind of screen does this one have? Let's see if it tells us that. If it tells us that. We're going to look at some of these little technicalities, you know, so that we can know what these guys are really saying. Sometimes you have to dig. Okay, so look at the resolution of the screen, right? So, hold on. Flemings, do you have a question, or was that hand from long time?
Oh, I mean, I was going to ask because someone had mentioned that the computer looks thin. I was going to ask like what kind of peripherals it has as well, because I can decide if I want to buy it or not.
Okay, cool. All right, we're looking at
also you mentioned in the screen too, because if it's like an OLED screen versus like a what's it again? Versus like a the one that's kind of mattish. What's it called again? If it's one of those, and I'd consider if I want to buy it or not as well, because you know you can determine if you want to use it to go out in public, because the sound can affect how you use it and those things like that.
Good point. Good point. So there are some terminologies that matters, but it's not the crucial terminology. So for example, we all know what the crucial things are. You know, we need a video card. We know what processor not to go below. We know what speed not to go below, what memory not to go below. So we have, once those are met, then we can start to look at other things. So for those of us that maybe have a budget of more than 1,000, then for example, we can start to ask ourselves, okay, let's start with OLED, right? And if that has OLED, what does this other one have, right? So pretty much there are 3 types of LCD monitor types that pretty much exist with laptops. There is LCD, there is LED, and there is OLED. And there are like some gray areas in between, like, you know, half LED and OLED and half LCD. There are like some gray areas between. But the main types you have is LCD, LED, and OLED. Now, the vast majority of laptops is LED, right? LCD has been pretty much phased out, right? And you can kind of see the evidence of LCD because LCD screens are a bit more thicker. LED screens are more thin, which is why most laptops nowadays you can have a really thin bezel, right? And what I wanted to do was to give you like a quick demonstration here with my computer. I'll go for it in just a second, right? But the main things you're comparing in these two is that one has a OLED and one has a LED, and the type of LED it has is IPS, right? So I know we're going into all these like scientific terms, but as I said, these are things that you can start to look at once you have met the initial criteria that we spoke about, right? Now, LED screens are, well, in my opinion, I would say significantly better than, OLED screens are significantly better than LED screens. But that is almost a matter of opinion, because you guys might look on an LED screen and you might look at an OLED and say, okay, the OLED look a little better, but I mean, I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars just because it looks a little better, right? So I think it's important that you guys know really the difference between them. Now, let me start with the bottom line. The bottom line is, at the stage that you guys are now, you're not going to choose a laptop only because it has OLED or LED, right? The OLED technology screens usually support what's called a wider color gamut, and we're going to look at that in I think it's the 3rd lecture when we start to look at things like bit depth and color depth and all of these fancy things, and we'll return to this in just a bit. But a wider color gamut means that you have more accurate colors. And you know, right off the bat, when you look at an OLED screen, like when you go into a computer store or a store that has television, you know, look at an OLED and look at an LCD. I mean, both of them will look great because there are other things that makes your display look great. OLED and LED is just the technology. OLED gives you more accurate, richer colors. LED gives you great colors by any standard. And LCD is pretty much no longer manufactured, right? So for those of us that would be in the professional space, for example, everybody perhaps knows Digicel logo, right? That's a good example because Digicel logo has a specific red. It has a specific red, right? And the red has a particular color value. And we're going to look at that when we start to look at color somewhere in the middle of the semester, right? Now, anybody here remember Claro?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Right.
yes, sir.
Sure.
Right. And do you know what is the branding color for Claro?
It's a specific.
Red.
It's a specific
Exactly.
red.
Something like a red.
More like red orange or something like that.
All right.
Ruby red eye something.
Some in between red and red orange. Something around there. So.
Now, if you were doing work for Digicel and Claro, it would be hard for you to tell the difference between the reds if you were using an LED screen. I mean, you could, but I mean, there's a lot at stake. You can't use the red from your competitor's brand to brand your product. So you imagine if you got a job to do, I don't know, some graphics or something, and you're using the red from the competitor's red, that is just a big no-no. You wouldn't get any pay for your work. They would be so disgruntled. So
you wouldn't have any work.
exactly. So on the professional level, to you, a LED versus OLED is life and death from a professional level, because you guys need to be able to see accurately what colors you're selecting in Photoshop and in Illustrator, and it not be, tainted by the screen technology. Now, you're only talking about some slight variations, but as I said, when things are close, it's hard to determine it. So for architecture purposes, that definitely does not matter, because we're not really doing much marketing related things where the color of one thing can't be close to the color of the other, else it's life and death. No, we're not going to meet up in those situations. The next thing that I wanted us to look at is that this screen says it has 144 hertz IPS, and this here is just like marketing mumbo jumbo, but I'll get to that. This is important. 144. Anybody has any idea what benefit this is? Wait, before
Refresh
you
rate
answer,
of the screen set.
yeah, but before you answer that question, let's look at the other one here from here. Can we find the screen refresh rate here? Let's see. Screen, we have that, and nope, we don't. Now, whenever you don't see the screen refresh rate,
It's probably 60.
that's a good point. It is probably 60, right? So that begs to the question. Let me go back over here to this other one. Was it that one? No, it was this one. Right. Let me go back over here to this other one, right? And let's go here. So notice how the marketing trends is. This advertised 144 hertz, but the what was it? It was a HP. That one doesn't advertise it, which means that it's probably the standard 60. Now 60 hertz is pretty much the industry standard for computer screens, right? So let me put PC here. I'm drawing with the mouse, so forgive my handwriting. Then we also have 24 hertz, 24 to 30, which is the standard for your television, right? So what do these figures mean? Here we have television, here we have the standard. So pretty much all computer screens is 60 hertz. And here we have a whopping 144 hertz. What will this do for us? Will it let our computer faster? Will it let us finish our studio work quicker because it has a higher hertz? Any suggestions?
I think, well, I could be wrong, but I think it's the amount of frames per second it will display. So let's say if you're gaming, for example, you want something that produces a lot of frames per second, so you can actually react to whatever's happening in front of you.
All right, we have some gamers in the house. All right, cool. Let's get the perspective from any non-gamers. Who is a non-gamer here? I don't know. Justin, are you a gamer?
Not a very good one, no.
All right. What do you think? How do you think this refresh rate will help us, or will help this student, or will help you in CSA or in work?
I don't really think it would help that much, but it would make the experience like a lot smoother because everything seems a lot faster when it's refreshing faster. So it makes the experience smoother, but it doesn't really like add performance.
Okay, cool. Let's get one more opinion. Let's try Kimona. You there, Kimona?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
How do you think this? Don't worry. I'm just getting your opinion, right? You're on Amazon. You see 144 hertz. You know, how do you think that will help you, in your own opinion? Any answers?
Basically the same thing that Justin said.
Okay, everything will appear smoother.
Wait, sorry, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, let's say doing like a visual presentation or something like that. Would it also help with that?
That's a very good question. And the answer to that is no. Right? And the whole conversation of FPS, frames per second, and hertz, they are similar conversations. They're talking about similar things. But the concept is that what you have to remember is if you're showing content with a high frame rate, so the hertz, think of it as frame rate, think of it as smoothness, right? Right, just think of it as smoothness. The source material has to be as smooth or smoother than the output technology. So for example, the question you ask, if I'm watching a movie, will my movie appear smoother on this 144 hertz screen? The answer to that is that if your movie was created as a 144 frames per second film, then yes, it would appear smoother on the 144 hertz screen. But you know what? That goes into a whole psychology that we're probably not going to look on until maybe fourth year, because the smoother the movie looks is the more bad it feels. And it's a psychological thing, and it's really interesting when we look into it. So we're not going to go into that just yet, right? But essentially, what you have to remember is the source has to be as fast as the output. So for example, if you're playing a game, for all your gamers there, right? And your frames per second in your game, right? How quickly can you dodge and run? If you are able to generate 200 frames per second and you have a 144 hertz screen, then you're only going to see it at the speed of a 144 hertz. Almost think of it as 144 frames per second. Now, a game, the speed at which a game can produce frames is totally dependent on what device?
Yeah, it's
The CPU, sir.
The processor, yeah.
And I am a let's.
Oh no, the GPU, my bad.
Oh,
Exactly. And if you remember from last class, the CPU, what analogy did we use to represent the CPU?
Accountant.
Right. It's just about numbers. Mathematician. And the GPU is what?
Artist.
Right. So it's graphics. Graphics include games as well as Photoshop. Right? So if your video card can handle to push out 144 frames per second and you have 144 hertz screen, then if you put them side by side, you may notice the difference. And I said may because if you're a gaming person, then a nanosecond is a life and death difference. Just like how if you were a graphics person, the 2 shades of red is a life and death situation, right? The human eye really kind of sees motion at minimum 15 frames per second. Once you're above 15 frames, the human eye sees motion. So 144 hertz is just like, whoa, that's premium. And this is why this kind of hertz is advertised on gaming or premium or like, you know, the way that it is marketed is kind of this thing like, whoa, fast, speed, this is for cutting edge and that kind of stuff. So anyway, the fact is that for the purpose of architecture, this would only matter if I was going to throw this question out, but do we have enough time? We have a little time. Can anybody tell me how frames per second, how the hertz of the screen, in what scenario would that be advantageous to us in architecture?
Sir, you can check the chat, sir.
Oh, right. I keep forgetting that we have multiple modes of communication. So, higher refresh rates can help with tasks such as rendering or editing video. Shows overall increasing responsiveness. I mean, that's like a very broad brush thing, but it's not incorrect. Generally, higher frame rate makes the computer look more smooth, but I'm telling you, unless you are like a computer geek person, it really makes no difference to the average person. I mean, smooth. 60 hertz is plenty smooth because when we watch TV every day, we're watching it at 30. So 60, you can just imagine that's like much less 144. And I'm sure there are some laptops in here where some persons picked out that had 240 hertz. So your answer is not incorrect, but it could be a little better. Anybody else?
sir. Well, it's related to what I had mentioned before about the video. Let's say you're doing a virtual tour of a building you were constructing. Would that be one area that you could apply this?
Technically, that would be the same as the answer here in the text. So video.
Okay. But as in like a more specific thing. So you created a virtual tour of a building that you're constructing for a client, for example.
Mhm.
You want to see like what the different colors of the areas might look like, for example, and your lights and shadow and things like that. So that's what I was just wondering.
Right. So the hertz wouldn't really affect that. Okay. So in the interest of time, an area that is overlooked, that is severely affected by your hertz, and it affects architecture, is in digital sketching. Right? Is there anybody here that has an iPad and Apple Pencil or?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, whenever you're using that, you can check what's the hertz of the iPad screen. Let's see if I can Google that real quickly for you. Hertz of iPad. Which iPad you have?
iPad
Like ninth generation, sixth generation.
Yeah, ninth generation, 9.7 inch.
Right. So, okay. So the iPad has a refresh rate of about, let's say, 120 hertz. Now, if your iPad was moving, that's maybe even a little slow. But anyway, if your iPad was moving at 60 hertz, you would notice that when you're sketching. And what would happen is that when you're sketching, you would kind of, it will kind of feel laggy. And the reason that it would feel laggy is you have to remember that when you're sketching, your hands is like, what's the frames per second of how we move in real life? You know, it's like, I don't know, infinity, right? When we move smooth, right? The computer has to interpret that in terms of tiny increments of images that plays in front of our eyes, and our eyes perceive it as motion. So whenever you move your hand, which is directly connected to your brain, anything lower than the highest possible frame rate is going to seem laggy. So for example,
Sir,
yeah,
that's so weird because usually when my iPad is laggy when I'm sketching is usually because of the pencil. Like if I
right,
use like a third party pencil or something, it's gonna lag. But if I use the Apple pencil, it's
right,
fine.
okay,
But you know when it lags like if I'm using my computer and I'm using like a drawing tablet, that's when it's laggy.
all right. And there are multiple things that cause lag in that case, because you have to remember that um, the pencil is transmitting data to the screen, and then that's transmitting it to the processor and all these things. But the point is that for artists that is sketching, and for you guys, maybe you're not doing like still life photos, but you are doing sketching, and the refresh rate will directly affect how smooth that or laggy that sketch feels. It's not only the refresh rate, you know, other things matter. So for example, like what you mentioned, that if you use a different pencil, because that pencil doesn't transmit data as quickly, and you know, other things. If the computer is doing something, if the iPad is doing something, but we're just focusing on the screen. This is an area that will affect directly how we use a screen in architecture. So for those of you that are going to be used to be maybe you're getting a tablet or something, high possibility when you buy a tablet, it will have a high refresh rate. Also high possibility if you buy some of the no-name, maybe Chinese brand tablet, you know, the area that they save money in and you don't know about is the refresh rate. So when you buy this tablet, you might use it and you say, oh, it feels so laggy. And that is probably one of the reasons. So that is something to keep in mind. I guess technically video games is also something that affects architecture because we play it sometimes to de-stress. And yes, the frames per second, the hertz will affect. It is noticeably not smooth. And why is the reason for that? Because a video game is interactive. So when you press the X button, it should, you know, move on screen. And your brain, our brains are so powerful that we can notice if there is like a nanosecond of delay. That's how powerful our brains are. So this is why for video games, Hertz is marketed to gamers, because you know it's easy for you to notice lag whenever you have interactivity. When I press a button, something should happen on screen and it should happen instant. When I'm drawing on a tablet, it should happen instant. All of these are interactive things. All right, so that's a little bit about. We kind of went a little deep with Hertz.
Oh, sir, before we move on, on the, well, two things. On the thing that you mentioned with the sketching on the tablet, I have friends who do digital design, so I can get what you're saying. So, for example, I think what you're trying to say is that the pen stroke isn't represented as accurately or as quickly as your hand would be moving, because again, it's not the hertz isn't fast enough to register to register one stroke of the hand, or if you're coloring, it doesn't show it as quick as it should.
Right.
And then on the gaming, I'm thinking of games like a Sims, where you're trying to like build different
No, man,
structures in
Call of
Sims, for
Duty, man.
example.
Sims 2 slow. Call of Duty. Something that you have
Yeah,
to
but
read.
like a more advanced game where like you're building a structure or something like that. It might not register as quickly or as accurately as you'd want it to.
Right. But more like Call of Duty, somebody busts the corner and you have to
Those
react.
more extreme games that require processing power.
or a racing game where you have to like, things like that. Yeah.
I was just thinking about a quote unquote architectural game.
Oh, it's funny
Yeah.
that you say that, because we do actually investigate games in architecture, but that is in fourth year, so stay tuned for that when I see you again. Okay, right. So the other thing that we noticed with these screens, and I'm going to pick another one. So okay, so I'm going to give this one that it is not okay, because it's not even possible, because you need a video card. There's no escaping. You are going to suffer if you don't have one. All right, so that one's not okay. Let me see if I can find another one here. I was wondering if somebody would pick my laptop, but I don't see it yet. I wanted to pick one that has a difference. I'm gonna go for another one. What about this one? Let's see here. This is similar. Yeah. Nobody got a 2K. Anybody got a 2K screen in their option? Everybody, or that was just too much in the budget. Trying to look if anybody has a.
Yeah, for me myself, I go for affordability too, you know.
I know. I guess nobody could find a 2K. Is this still FHD? I hate sometimes when they leave off. Okay. Yeah, okay. What I wanted to bring up was, okay, this looks a little wide, so this looks like it could be. No, it's still HD. Okay. I wanted to show you the difference with at 2K. All right, this one is interesting. I would like to review this one, but this one is a no-no, because see, it has an integrated video card. So no. So which one was this one? Yeah, that was that one. So I'm just going to say no to that. ROG, let's see what we have here. IPS FHD. Okay, this one has 300 hertz. That's pretty interesting, and it's for that price. Okay, I can't find anybody that has a 2K screen, but we're going to talk about resolution. I think that's the next class actually. So let's look at one that's a little different. This one is actually a Ryzen 7. The last Ryzen that we saw was a Ryzen 5, and it was for $999. This one is for $50 more, and you go all the way up to a Ryzen 7. 300 hertz. I mean, as we realize, it doesn't really affect us. But if you are going to hook a drawing tablet to this, yeah, it would feel very fluid, right? We have the PCIe SSD, 512 gigabytes of it. And we have a 3050 Ti. Now, if we compare that's this one. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. I think it was this one for $9.99. Okay. So this one, we have a GTX 1650. And this one, we have a 3050 Ti. All right. So if you had the choice between these two, which one would be better? Which graphics card is better? Oops.
The one with the TIs there.
There we go. It's this one. Right. Ah, no, it's not that one. It's this one here. All right. There we go. And then this one. All right. So this is why we do this activity, because there are situations like this that this $50 is worth so much more when compared to this laptop. Because for $50 more, you get a third generation. But not only is it a third generation, because remember, one here is a generation, but the generation that uses new technology. So for example, GTX is it's like an acronym. It's not even an acronym. It's like it represents, it's kind of like gasoline and diesel, right? Both of them are fuels and they go in vehicle, but the makeup of one is totally different than the other, right? So, RTX would be like, a more modern fuel, right? For your graphics. So this video card is better in three ways. The first way is that, okay, it's the Ti, but okay, it's 2.5 ways. Because remember, I'm not a fan of the Ti, because that's just like saying extreme. And marketing people can say extreme because it has a sticker on it, or they can really make up some really questionable reasons to call something extreme, right? But fine, Ti versus non-Ti is better. Both of them are in the 5 region, so it passed the pass mark. That's good. However, this is 2 generations newer, so that's another point. And it uses a whole new technology, and that is a huge point, right? What are some other things here? Both of them have the same amount of space, right? Both of them have the same PCIe MV SSD, which is the rabbit with the rocket pack. And both of them are 15-inch. This one is 300 hertz, so this is just way faster. One would almost want to say, okay, what's the catch here? Both of them have 16 gig of RAM. And this is a Ryzen 5 and this is a Ryzen 7. So this is why you have to shop around, because sometimes for $50 more you get so much better. It's crazy. You understand? Maybe the difference in this you're really just paying for is it could be the build quality. If you have any Mac fans in the house, that's one point that is undeniably about the Mac computers. The build quality is premium. Not that you can't find premium computer quality, PC quality. Okay, so I just kind of went through a few and gave you some examples of ways to shop around. What I encourage you to do, guys, I'm going to tick this one as well. I think it was this one. Yeah. So I'm going to give this one, I would give this one a double tick if I could, but I can't. So I guess what I'll do is just, I don't know. It's good. It's good because comparatively, when you compare these two, and guess what? You can even compare them. All right, you can see the difference there. Okay, so what I'm going to end with is I'm going to show you guys my laptop. I was supposed to do that as a part of this exercise. We have like 5 minutes left. I'm going to try and find my video for it. It's about two years old or thereabout. I've gone through a few computers. I've had a MacBook in the past, and I've had from different categories. I've had workstation, and I've had ultrabooks, and now I have this new one. Now I'm not sure what category to put it in. But I wanted to tell you why I chose to get that one. Let's take a look. Asus. I have an Asus ZenBook Pro Duo. Okay, hold on. Let's just use YouTube and laptop of tomorrow. That's what I used to find it, because that was like a huge marketing thing with them. So let's take a look at this.
Sir, I really want that laptop, sir. It looks so good.
Right. So for those of us, I'm gonna just show you this one, because I think it's like the ultimate designer's laptop for now, you know, until a couple of weeks something else new comes out.
Sir, funny enough, I wasn't everything as ZenBook, you know.
Okay, give me 1 sec. Can you guys hear the audio directly? Let me go back here. Can you guys hear the audio?
I think I was hearing it earlier, but not right now.
Oh yeah, because it's
I
not
could be
going-
wrong though.
It's not going through. Okay. It should play straight. Is your voice in there? I'm trying to remember if there's voice. Because if there's no voice, then you probably don't need the audio. Are you hearing this ding?
Yes, sir.
Not
Yes,
through the
yes.
mic, but directly. You're hearing it directly?
No, sir, no.
Are you hearing it through the mic?
Through the mic.
Hearing the mic.
Okay, alright, cool. I'm sorry, I'm just changing the option for Firefox to use cable A. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Alright, cool. Alright, let's see if this works now. If not, then I don't think we need volume to watch it. Are you guys hearing that audio?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Yeah, that was the issue. All right. right. The laptop.
Sir, you
of
have
the
money,
morning.
money.
Hmm?
Money, money, sir.
Well, I always say that the only thing that lets you have that is consistent across everybody, no matter how much money they have, is the more time, the more you can manipulate time, the more you can control the money that you have, right? So I can buy a Benz, it's just that some people might be able to buy it in less time than me. But if I wait long enough, I should be able to afford it, right? So the real trick is time, right? So eventually, I got a chance to get that laptop, and I went through a couple other laptops and had to sell my old laptop and all kind of stuff. So anyway, the point is that let me just switch over here to right. What I want to get to is that there is a slide that I haven't gone through yet, but it has to do with digital sketching, and that is so important nowadays. I don't think anybody should have a device. Every CSA student should at least have a device that has a active pen. And notice I didn't say stylus, I said active pen. Now, if you choose to get a laptop that has an active pen like the Asus, then that is like a more expensive, but it's still efficient because you get the stylus, you get the screen that you can write on, take your notes, do your sketches, do everything. It's also a touch screen that you can use, and it has a video card in there that you can do all your work on. Now the other option is that you can have an iPad and a laptop. Some of us have an iPad already, but maybe we just need a laptop on which to that can handle the work. The bottom line is that, and I see a question from Ben coming to you. The bottom line is that you don't want to choose. You need something in these categories. You need something with an active pen, and you need something that has all of the requirements that we discussed the last class. You can choose to merge those two together by getting a laptop that has everything, and it's going to cost about $2,000, so it's double the budget. Or you can get them as you go along independently. So for example, those who don't have an iPad, you can have a phone, right? This is my phone. This is a Note 8, right? And before I got this laptop, this used to be my go-to for design. I had a laptop and a phone with a stylus, and all the sketches that I wanted to do, I did it on my phone. Then I went
Like
from
you're
there.
being a little biased right now because you're forgetting about the Samsung tablets.
Hold on, I'm working my way up. I'm working my way
You've
up.
been mentioning iPad from the class start. I don't think you're working up all now.
Okay, right.
Shante, I have an iPad. You know. Why is Shante salty and
Listen. I may have an iPad, but my heart still belongs to Samsung, okay?
Right,
Okay.
sure.
All right. So this is why this is what I want to leave you guys with, especially at this early stage. If you remember that slide that we had here, I think I closed it. What was it again? I'm trying to remember if it was PowerPoint. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Right. Oh yes, I moved it. Yeah, we're out of time now, but I just want to show you this conversation about this iPad thing here. There we go. Okay, scrolling all the way down. Oh. No. Right. There we go. Right. This is what I wanted to leave you guys with, right? F5. Yeah. Oh no, not F5. F6. Right. Regardless of the computer, right, regardless of the computer, that when you get your computer, you're going to need to have a device with an active pen. Now you can start at the bottom of the barrel would be a drawing tablet, right? In the middle would be a Android or Apple, right? Hope I'm being fair there, right? Android or Apple is in the middle. And at the extreme is a professional display, like what the guys who making cartoons would use and that kind of stuff, right? Then you have some gray areas in between. So for example, the 2-in-1 laptop, but we know how that go already. If you don't have a video card, you can't buy it. So that would mean you would need to go the more expensive route and get like a laptop of tomorrow that has everything. But then that is going to kind of blow the budget out of the water. But if you were planning on buying a Galaxy Tab, add that money to the price of a laptop and you end up with the price for a laptop that has everything in one. So this is why I'm saying that, it's either you're spending the money over a longer period of time or you're spending all that money one time. At the end of the day, you don't want to get a laptop. Like, don't run for the version of this because Sir said to run for it. And there's a version that does not have a discrete graphics. Do not buy that version and then waste $1,500. And then you can't, in third year, you can't run Lumion or whatever. And on the other end of the scale, you could get the laptop like what we looked at for $1,000. And then at a later time, you can get a iPad. Maybe your iPad is $500. That's too expensive. Well, go down to Innovative or just order a drawing tablet for $10,000 and start from there. Or maybe you can get a phone that has a stylus. But anyway you cut it, you're going to need something to draw digitally, and you're going to need a device that has a video card and all of the things that we specified earlier. Now this slide is available on the website, so you guys can go through it again. If you can't remember what was the name of that thing or whatever, just come back on the website and refresh your brain.
Question, how do you use your phone? Do you connect it to your laptop or you just draw on the phone itself?
Yeah, my go-to is OneNote, but there are like a million drawing apps out there. So I draw on the app on the phone and then it synchronizes with whatever. So
okay.
Right. But if you have an iPad, check out Morpholio. That's really good. That's Morpholio. It's primarily built for architects. It has like digital sketching PC and all kind of stuff. Yeah, question?
Yeah, sir, I've been wanting to ask you this, sir. I have a system at home, right? Desktop. It had an NVIDIA graphics card in there, but I didn't get it with it. Kind of going on a budget, so I was planning on upgrading that system to do all of the work.
Right.
Sorry, but I see you only specializing in the portable aspect of it, where in the laptops. So,
oh no. Maybe hopefully when we're in the latter part of the course, when to get most of the things out of the way, I can give you guys a tour of my project. You know, I'm always working on some crazy computer thing. So I am a desktop fan all the way, but I mean, you need to move around. So you guys need a laptop. But as it relates to the desktop, yeah, you can. You the same rules apply. Anything that has 5 and up, you can buy.
I think it has an Intel i3. I have to go upgrade all of them something. So
Right, but there are some.
call him and ask him about the specs because I don't remember. It's a good while I gave him to upgrade it for me. But I just call him and him saying will get back to me. So
Okay, because I was saying that you could call Mr. Campbell and he can give you a bit more details. Like even if you just ask him a question, boy, I have a computer X and I want to upgrade the thing, and he could say, oh, you know, like I send all my students to him. So a lot of times he knows of somebody that's trying to sell something, or you know, you can go to them have a sale at Royal, or them have, you know, he knows stuff in the computer parts realm. So you can also use that resource as well. All right.
All right, answer. Thanks.
All right. So that has been our talk in the technology realm, right? So from here on out, we're going to be getting our hands dirty with some Photoshop, some Illustrator, some stuff like that. So come next class, we're going to start our exercises. The exercises are done in class and they're handed in at the end of the class. I usually give you guys to the end of the day. I know there are some of us that has technical challenges in terms of, you know, computers or what have you. All you need to do is just let me know in class or ahead of time so that it can work. I know we're out of time, but we'll talk about the grading stuff next class. All right, but have your Photoshops ready for Wednesday, right? And hold on, just to confirm the time, let me look back on the timetable because make sure there's no movements. We should have that at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, right? It's gonna be we're going to do a little presentation. I'm going to do a little demonstration, and then the rest of the class is you guys doing the work, right? I have a class right after that, so usually we try and wrap it up. Usually we can get through it in 2 hours if there's no major issues. So that is our plan for Wednesday's class. All right.
Sir, we can go to the lab, right?
Yes, you can go in the lab and follow me from the lab. Definitely.
Okay.
It's nice and cool
randomly,
in the lab.
or we have to schedule?
Well, the lab technicians should be there on Mondays and Wednesdays because that's computing days. My only concern is that there are other computing classes that are happening. So if you have a laptop, I would say to use it, but if you don't have a choice, then go to the lab.
Sir, it's not a matter of a laptop, you know. It's a matter of having money to buy Photoshop and Adobe.
No man, don't just call Mr. Campbell and he will sort you out. All right? Just call Mr. Campbell.
Am I getting it for free?
Huh?
He's going to download it for free for us?
He would more likely send you the link. But
the thing about that now, usually when people send links, they send it for like, I don't remember the brand, but them brand there, and I have a MacBook, so they don't really include.
Oh, you have a Mac. You have a Mac. Yeah, but okay, you're still good to go. But your future at CSA has turmoil waters ahead. No, because you need to use Revit and all these things. But anyway, that's we can cross that bridge later. But right now, you are covered with the Mac.
Sir?
Right? Just call Mr. Campbell and he will set you up, or you can use the computer lab. Either way, he will get you a solution.
Sir, where you find the number again?
All right, so the number for Mr. Campbell, I think I had it in this slide. Yeah. There we go.
Sir, which software would need again? Just
you're going to need, the first one we're going to need is Photoshop. After that we have it. Hey, there is a timeline on the website, guys. Please use the website right up the top. Scroll across and you will see. Right, but Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, SketchUp.
Oh yes, sir. I recall sixth form when we were doing doesn't matter what we're doing, but the time ran out on one of my classmates when she was designing her logo. The thing just chipped out and gone. So people, beware.
Yes, save, and more save. Right. But it's not exactly exam conditions, so don't worry. There will be persons that something will crash and they forgot to save and they'll have to start the exercise over. Hopefully that won't be you, right? But just remember to save, and you have the entire day. Usually I give the day. It's very possible to just finish the exercise in class. It's really super simple. But for those of us that have technical challenges or maybe internet or whatever, you have until 12 to hand it to you. All right? Everything is
more than
by
one
the
copy of the
website.
things too. Sorry, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying that they should save more than one copy of whatever work they're doing too, because if you save one copy, that can get corrupted on them things.
Right. Progressive saving. So we'll speak a little bit about that as we go along. All right, guys. So that was a pretty full class. Got to prepare for my next one. So, great conversation, and I hope that you guys, I'm gonna finish ticking off that list, so you can use that list to guide you in, getting technology for the rest of CSA. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Sir,
with Photoshop. Yeah, question?
one more question. So I have a very, 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 very old Dell computer.
Oh, that was like 4 varies. Okay.
Yes. When I just got it, it had Windows 7.
That's not very old. That's only like 2 varies, not 4.
But I download Windows 10 on it, and it kind of moves slow. So I don't use it every day. So I'm wondering if I can use that instead.
More than likely. The only trouble that you will really have is when you go into third year 3D modeling. You're definitely going to need something with a decent video card. But for Photoshop and those things, you don't need to break the bank. You will get away for a little bit. It's going to be a little sluggish, but it will work just fine until you reach up on second semester, second year. No, you're in second year. Second semester, third year. You're going to need something decent before that time. Definitely. And it don't sound like that one will cut it, or maybe you can upgrade the video card and the specs. You can talk to Mr. Campbell with that.
Oh, sorry. What was the other? There was another practical thing for Wednesday, right? Because I think I have a structure class. I have a structures class for 9 o'clock. Was there?
Yeah. There are 2. Remember, the other session is at 4 p.m. All right. So there are 2. There are 2 sessions. All right, guys. Alrighty. All right. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Take care of yourselves.
All right, sir, we go.
Yeah.